And what's going on, guys? Gaston right here, and into this video we're going to be talking about the announcement of the Sony ZV1 II. Now, as you can see, Sony has published this, and this camera is going to be announced on May 23rd. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the predictions that I think the Sony ZV1 is going to have, and talk about some of the potential differences between the first model. All that information coming right up. And welcome back to the channel, guys. So let's talk about the Sony ZV1 II, or whatever Sony is going to call that camera. And I would like to start with the main feature, which is the lens. Now, if you remember, the Mark I features a 24 to 70 millimeter f1.8 to f2.8. But there is a problem with this lens. This lens is actually not wide enough when wanting to vlog with the active image stabilization mode. It crops a lot. Now, this one is the standard image stabilization, as you can see. And now with the active image stabilization. And I think the 24 millimeter, even when you want to vlog holding the camera with your hand, it's not wide enough by its nature. So when you account that crop factor, it makes it almost impossible. And I think it kind of like contradicts the purpose of the camera, a vlogging setup. So one of the things that we may see in this camera is a brand new lens, and perhaps Sony is going to go with a 16 or 14 millimeters up to 50 or 55 millimeters with an aperture of f1.8. If they can do even wider, even better. So that is round number one. Now, there's a slight chance that for the first time, Sony may introduce the same camera with two focal lengths. And I'm saying this because they already have done that, the 24 to 200 millimeters. And I remember when this camera was launched, there was a group of people that complained that the lens wasn't wide enough. And then there was another group of people that they wished they had a 24 to 200 millimeters. So maybe Sony have decided to cater to both markets. We're gonna have to wait and see, but let me know what do you prefer. Now, the next feature that we're gonna see in the Sony ZV1 II is going to be finally a touchscreen with Sony's brand new menus. Now, this is gonna be crucial for vloggers being able to operate the camera from the front. And if you ask me, it's going to make the camera more popular than ever before. We may also see the swipe up to bring the function menu, something that we have, for example, in the Sony ZVE1, and also the side swipe to bring additional options. Now, the next prediction is that Sony is going to be importing all those new features that we have seen in the Sony ZVE1 for image stabilization. So we're going to have the active, and for the first time in the ZV line, we may see the dynamic image stabilization. Now, if Sony goes that route, that is another indication why they may actually want to do a much wider lens. And I'm saying 16, could be 14 as well. And the wider the better, because the dynamic image stabilization crops excessively. So let's see what they do there. Another prediction, and this one I hope is true, is that the Sony ZV1 II is going to be the first tiny little camera from Sony that can actually do 4K video up to 60 or 120p, perhaps with a little crop in the 120, but at 10-bit 4:2. Now, this is going to be a great news for those that are already grading color and shooting with 10-bit color 4:2, because we're going to get the same flexibility from such a tiny little camera. And it also puts the ZV1 II in a semi-professional environment. This could easily well be your C camera or B cam in some occasions. Next prediction talks about dynamic range, and in this camera, we are going to have better dynamic range from the prior version, because if they do 4K color 10-bit 4:2, chances are that S-Log 3 is going to be giving us a much wider dynamic range in this little tiny camera. And out of the fact that we're going to have 10-bit color 4:2, this one is actually great news. So in the Sony ZV1 II, we're also going to see S-Scene tone, and with the 3 different flavors that we have seen in the Sony ZVE1, as well as the new cinematic vlogging mode in this tiny little camera. Now, this one comes more as a wish than a prediction, and I wish that the Sony ZV1 II would actually have a larger battery, perhaps something similar to the older APS-C cameras from Sony, and that the camera would also feature an APS-C sensor. Now, I have the Ryko GR3X, and those cameras are pretty much the same size as this one right here, and they feature an APS-C sensor with great image quality. And one of the reasons why I don't think that that's going to be possible, and again, why it's a wish, is because designing a small kit lens APS-C may be a challenge. And here comes my next wish, and it is that Sony in this version, they will give us better tactile button. And some of the other Sony cameras, even the RX line, you know, they feature very flat buttons that are really hard to press or locate unless you're looking at the camera. So now with bigger camera, we got used to navigating the camera by feeling the buttons, at least myself. And I think the Sony could actually do the same in this little camera. So guys, what are the features you would want to see in this Sony ZV1 Mark II? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you are thinking about getting this camera. And until then, I will see you in the next video.